We turn to the legal realm today in this episode where we feature court-martial.
Compliance, the final frontier. Tom Fox is the voyager of trekking through compliance. His mission? To explore the original series and seek out and share what it can teach you about compliance. Here's your host, Tom Fox.
Episode 20, Court-Martial. After sustaining damage in an ion storm, the Enterprise is forced to seek repairs at Starbase 11. At Starbase 11, Commodore Stone investigates the loss of Records Officer Ben Finney, who was killed when the ion pod in which he was taking readings had to be jettisoned in order to save the Enterprise. Stone finds that despite Kirk's insistence to the contrary, the computer records show that Kirk ejected the pod during the yellow alert before red alert had been signaled, which would have communicated to Finney to get out of the pod. Kirk is further incriminated when it is learned that although they were once close friends, Finney had a deep hatred of Kirk and held him responsible for Finney's lack of promotion. This stemmed from an incident aboard the USS Republic when Kirk replaced Finney on watch and discovered a circuit open to an atomic matter pile that should have been closed. Finney was sent to the bottom of the promotion board and began to blame Kirk for keeping him down. Kirk stands by his testimony and draws a court-martial for perjury and culpable negligence. His former flame, Ariel Shaw, is the prosecuting attorney, and Kirk seeks the services of attorney Samuel T. Cogley. Testimony from McCoy, Spock, and himself proves unenlightening, and Spock is forced to admit there is nothing mechanically wrong with the computer. Just as the sentence is about to be pronounced by Commodore Stone, Space Command Representative Lindstrom and Starship Captains Chandra and Krenowski, Spock discovers something amiss in the computer program bank of the Enterprise after he is able to beat the computer 5 times, despite the fact that the program should not be capable of losing, at least to Spock, because he programmed it. Spock rushes down to the Starbase, and the entire court reconvenes aboard the Enterprise to determine what is going on. Using an auditory sensor, the computer detects one more heartbeat aboard the Enterprise than can be accounted for. Kirk soon locates the hiding Finney, who manages to tap out the primary energy circuits. Finney tells Kirk how to return power and prevent the Enterprise from being burned up in the planet's atmosphere, only when Kirk tells him that Finney's daughter Jamie is aboard. Kirk is cleared, and Samuel Cogley takes on a new case, defending Ben Finney. Obviously, as a recovering trial lawyer, I enjoyed this episode. I particularly enjoyed Elijah Cook Jr., who has been in numerous great movies, including Shane and, of course, The Maltese Falcon. So it's great to see him in this role as well. I'm going to take a little bit different approach on this one because one of the takeaways could be don't put your faith in technology, or at least all of your faith in technology. It's not fallible, even though it promises to be free from human error. Certainly, this episode puts you directly in line with that interpretation. Computers were newer in the mid-'60s, and people are in awe of their accuracy and consistencies. But computers should not have a momentary brain lapse or have 2 + 2 = 3. At least that was a perception. That's why in the compliance realm, I think it's always good to remember that data and AI will never take the place of compliance professionals because we have to oversee that. So interesting thought or way to look at this episode. The trial scenes I thought were also interesting because Cogley really didn't have a lot to work with, so it didn't appear as if his defense was that articulate or even that powerful. Nevertheless, he was appealing to emotion, and that's certainly a valid trial strategy. If you don't have the facts, argue the law. If you don't have the law, argue the facts. If you don't have either, well, sometimes you need to make it up. There are some additional compliance lessons from this episode. Of course, due process is a key component for the compliance professional, as the Department of Justice has made clear that institutional justice and institutional fairness are housed in the corporate compliance function. Transparency and accountability. The trial process was scrutinized by the crew, who demanded transparency in the proceedings and accountability from the officers involved in the court-martial. This is a core component of compliance and compliance principles, maintaining visibility into decision-making and holding individuals accountable. Conflicts of interest. We don't talk about this as much as we used to in compliance, but the revelation that the chief prosecutor has a personal vendetta against Kirk highlights the need to avoid conflicts of interest in any investigation or disciplinary process. Compliance frameworks require segregation of duties and impartiality. Next, preservation of evidence, or, as I might say, document. A key plot point is the crew's efforts to locate and preserve the critical evidence from the ship's computer logs that can exonerate Captain Kirk. Proper handling and safeguarding of records and documentation is essential for compliance. Expert testimony and independent review. Kirk's defense strategies relies on bringing in expert witnesses and demanding an independent review board, underscoring the importance of subject matter expertise, internal and impartial oversight in compliance investigations. That's why an independent monitor can be such a powerful tool. Whistleblower protections. When Kirk's subordinate, Lieutenant Finney, is revealed to be the true culprit, the episode touches on the need to protect whistleblowers who come forward with information, obviously a crucial component of any compliance program. By highlighting these lessons around due process, transparency, conflicts of interest, evidence handling, etc., that we have talked about in this podcast, you can see how this episode can provide a wide variety of compliance lessons learned. Join us tomorrow where we take up Return of the Archons.
If you enjoyed this episode of Trekking Through Compliance, you can help it grow by sharing it with the biggest Trek fan you know.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.